What's up guys, Carmine here, back again for another House of the Dragon review, this time for episode 6, and oh boy, if there was ever a case where this was one of the episodes of all time, it was last night. Now this doesn't mean I was bored, far from it, but it amazes me how in an 8-episode season, when we shouldn't have any filler, this felt like we had some filler. This was my issue with The Boys this season. The showrunner there dragged his feet to the kitchen for 6 episodes, then decided to cook the hell out of the last 2, and it showed. I'm not saying House of the Dragon is doing the same, but this felt like they took parts from other episodes and threw some bits in here to see what they could fill in. You know, ironically, Game of Thrones also did this, according to the behind-the-scenes book, when they needed some scenes to fill in the runtime, and that's how the Cersei Roberts scene was born, which is lauded as one of the best moments in television, and certainly one of my favorites. As for our characters, well, we'll get to that, because even though we had some interesting moments, some lesbian kisses, and guest cameos, some might argue that wasn't enough to make this week's episode worth it. Let's talk about it. And before we do, as always, leave your thoughts down below on what you thought of the episode. Hit that like button and subscribe for the algorithm gods. It helps out a lot. And, of course, shout out to these beautiful bastards. But for now, let's get into it. So this is completely random, but I hope most of you who have been with me for a long time know that I was going to love the hell out of this opening shot of the Lannister forces moving in on the Golden Tooth. From what I read, the person who designed the Lannister armor for Game of Thrones was tasked with coming back to do its prequel version, and it's absolutely stunning. Something I've always loved about the Lannister forces is that you have your regular foot soldier, then you have your archers, and then you have your upper ranks, whereas everyone else just has the same armor for every job. I love the Lannister variety, and I'm glad it came back. If there's one group of people who always eat very well when watching House of the Dragon, it's book fans, especially with the Golden Tooth and how often that pops up in early Ice and Fire. And before you ask, what about the lions? Come on, it's the Lannisters. They wouldn't be who they are if they didn't bring at least one lion or two. Right after this, we get the small council scene, and I'll be real with you guys right now, the inner book reader in me wants longer, more descriptive small council scenes. I know casual viewers are somewhat indifferent to it, but I would legit take an entire episode of them just discussing Westerosi politics. I'm not kidding. But the one thing that has been bugging me a little bit is how they aren't bringing up the rest of their forces beyond the Hightower men and the potential Greyjoy stuff, who got another mention in this episode. But what I'm talking about specifically is the Baratheon forces and when we can expect them to reappear in the story, considering that Aemond is supposed to marry one of Lord Baratheon's daughters for troops. It's a whole reason why he was at Storm's End in the season finale last time. They also keep mentioning the Riverlords, who are an issue, but so would be the Starks and the Arryns, who have both aligned themselves with Rhaenyra, yet never got brought up as a threat. Oh, and on the topic of things not being brought up, I made the mistake of watching the inside the episode, and I really gotta stop doing that because every time I do, showrunner Ryan Condal confuses the hell out of me. There's a moment where he says that Aemond has always obsessed over Daemon and lived in his shadow, and I gotta ask, when do we get those episodes? Because that sounds like it'd be something they should have made clear last season when Aemond was a child for episodes 6 and 7, and yet that did not happen, not one time. This happened last time too, with Aemond being super upset about the bullying, when the one time we ever saw anything like that go down was when they pulled the Pink Dread prank. Yet they talk about like the dude's childhood was fucked up by Regina George every day at school. Like, what episode did Biff beat you up that we didn't get to see? I'm not saying he wasn't bullied, I'm sure he was, but it was one of those things where we should have seen this happen so this turn into an anime villain would have made more sense. Also, grew up in Daemon's shadow? Have they ever been in the same room, lore-wise? Was there ever a reason for Daemon to be in the same room as this kid? And before you bring up that one moment last season where Daemon cut that guy's head off, no, they were already grown adults by then. Condal was specifically talking about Aemond's childhood, and they never alluded that Aemond was like, whoa, this dude is so cool, I want to be like him when I grow up. That never happened. Ever. And speaking of things never happening, Alicent having a moment where she's happy. Yeah, that's not gonna go down this season or anytime soon. It started with her getting fucked and has continued with her still getting fucked, but not in ways she'd like. Aemond strips her of any semblance of power she had, and then she has a really nice moment with Wayne, which I did like. But once again, I can't bring myself to feel bad for this person when she's such a bad mother. And yes, she is. She treated her eldest son Aegon like garbage for a good chunk of the season, and then has completely ignored her daughter Helena, and now wants to do a surprise Pikachu face when one of the sons she ignored growing up doesn't show her any loyalty or respect. Yeah, lady, that's tragic. Sucks to suck. Don't get me wrong, Olivia Cooke has knocked it out of the park every time she's on screen, but if you're gonna fuck up the character every episode, at least give her a lesbian kiss to make up for it. Speaking of which, let's talk about Rhaenyra. First of all, there is no such thing as an Arianna Targaryen. That's stupid, and the person who wrote that is stupid. Second, props to them for the Darkland Dragon taming attempt. I quite enjoyed that, and it was cool to see it from the books. But also, there is a conversation to be had about this in regards to the dragon bond and the psychic connection with it. Clearly, Seasmoke's bond with Laenor isn't broken because Laenor hasn't died yet, and so the bond is still there. But I guess that means the only people who can ride him are those related to Laenor, like Adam of Hull, who also happens to be Corlys's bastard son. There's a deeper conversation to be had here regarding this, and I'll save it for the podcast. Hope you're tuned in for that. As for the Rhaenyra and Mysaria scene, yeah, Mysaria has been talking up Rhaenyra all season, and it's only a matter of time before this went down. In the books, Mysaria was always Daemon's lackey, but I guess the show will be flipping that around, and I don't have an issue with it. People keep saying that this came out of nowhere. I don't know, you guys have never had a moment where someone is trauma dumping on you about how horrible their father was, then all of a sudden you're turned on? No? Well, you're the weird ones. Also, by the way, Mysaria, on some level, had to have known that would have happened, and maybe I'm memeing here, but come on. You're gonna try to trauma dump incest on a Targaryen of all people? Stop. Come on. Oh, real quick before we move on, two things. First thing, I'm putting money on this now. They're totally having a threesome with Daemon. It's gonna happen. It's going down. And the second thing is, according to behind-the-scenes stuff, Emma Darcy actually initiated the kiss. They were not supposed to kiss on screen, but Emma Darcy did it. I guess they just kept it in, so there it is. And last, let's get to Daemon's stuff. And, oh, Jesus Christ, please no more. Let's move on. I can't with this. It's done. It's Jover. Let it go. Let it go. I will say the character of Alice has kind of grown on me, but just when I'm enjoying her on screen, she leaves the scene, and it's back to Daemon again, tripping balls. It was cool to see Viserys again, but the writers have worn this plot out a bit too much now. Yeah, I'm over it. I understood it the last few times it's happened, but now we've gone more than 3 episodes with it. That's enough. No more. It's not necessary. And from the looks of the preview, we have reached the conclusion, and I'm excited as hell for that, but enough. I'm over it. Overall, the episode was fine. It was fine. Definitely my least liked of this season. Was it boring? No. There was always something here to enjoy, even if in random places, and I don't need keys dangling in front of me the entire time to be entertained, but it did feel like this was the episode where we should have gotten the contestants coming to attempt to tame the dragons, but instead they gave us another setup episode, and this one did set up quite a few things. Daemon for next season, Dragon Seeds for next episode, and Aemond and Harrenhal for the finale. I blame HBO for this because it's quite clear they needed the series to be extended, and cutting the number of episodes down does just that, but at the cost of having outings like this where characters just wait for someone else to move the plot along. The Alan and Adam stuff have been sprinkled here all season, and it's finally going somewhere, thank God. Rhaena at the Vale is also somewhat going somewhere, and yeah, just a few characters have been mishandled here and there, but still, there's time to redeem it all in the final 2 episodes, so we'll see how that pans out. But guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please leave your thoughts down below on what you thought of the episode, and be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already for more House of the Dragon content. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.